What's up, guys? Today I want to share with you 9 tips on how to make friends if you're socially anxious. Okay guys, so in case you don't know who I am, I'm Stéphane Gonville, and I have a website called freedomacademyhq.com where I help people overcome their shyness and their social anxiety. Um, I'm just a guy that reduced his anxiety by more than half, and I think I can help you do the same also because I've learned a lot of stuff on the way there. So today I want to share with you 9 little tips that I've learned on how to make friends even though you're socially anxious. So I can remember in my past, I could totally relate to this. Well, there was at one point I couldn't even get out of my house, but I eventually worked my way out and started making friends. And these are 9 tips that I've used, so I think they can help you also, because if they worked for me, they should work for you also. So the first thing that I see that in myself was that I kept rejecting myself from possible friendships. That's tip number 1. I used to always create this type of wall around me, and I see a lot of people with social anxiety do the same thing, where they create a wall around them, and anytime that they have the chance to get close to someone, they kind of reject themselves, because a lot of people with social anxiety and shyness, they have this inner belief that if other people knew who you really were, that they would reject you. So it's kind of a self-defense mechanism where you kind of reject yourself before others can hurt you. So that's, as long as you're aware of that, that could help a lot, because you need to realize that having friends and making friendships, it's supposed to be fun. It's something that you're supposed to be looking forwards to. It's not something that you should dread. But in my experience, you should also be aware that the first few steps into making friends, you have to realize that there's going to be anxiety there, and that's totally normal. So that's tip number 1. You should stay open to the idea that others would want to be your friends. I can guarantee you that there's people out there that want nothing more than to be your friend. Okay. And I know in my past, if someone told me that, I'd want to punch them in the face or at least slap them. But I mean, I know that's true, because I firmly believe that social anxiety, it's not a personality trait. You're not always going to be like that. You're always going to stay like that if you don't do anything about it. But shyness and social anxiety is just keeping your personality hidden. So there's ways to go about it where you can open up yourself, and that's what my whole website is about. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is kind of related to the first one, which is to stop mind reading. So what this is that mind reading is a term coined by cognitive behavioral therapists that saw that a lot of socially anxious people and shy people would tend to assume what other people thought about them. So if you find yourself when you're around people, or if you have to talk to some people, and I'd advise you to go in your mind and see if you're always thinking stuff like, oh, that person thinks I'm boring, or oh, these people must think I'm such a weirdo. If you're doing that, you're mind reading, and you have to kind of stop doing that, or being aware of it is kind of gonna help a lot to distill it. But you should try and refrain from putting your own projections on what other people are thinking, because chances are that what you're thinking that other people are thinking is not what they're thinking at all. Okay, and this is just another way to kind of stop ourselves from having friendships, because when we think that everybody around us doesn't want to be around us, and when we think that the reason why we don't have friends is because we're some type of losers or something, it's keeping you in that mindset, and it's making it harder for you to actually go out there and believe that making friends is possible. Okay, so try to refrain to stop putting your projections on other people. You know, stop trying to figure out what they're thinking about you. Just listen. As a rule of thumb, if they're around you and they're talking to you, chances are that they like you. Enough said. Just keep it like that. That's really important to do this, because if you don't do that, then you keep rehashing the idea that that others are always constantly judging you and stuff, which is not the case. Okay, it's only the case because you believe that. It's not reality though. It's just what you believe, so therefore that's your reality, and that's what you believe, and you react accordingly. So tip number 3 is to make a list of the things that you enjoy doing. This is related to the next tip, but if you can, I just want to make you or advise you to make a list of 5 to 10 things that you either loved doing in the past or that you love doing now. And chances are that if you have social anxiety and shyness, a lot of the stuff that we used to enjoy doing, we stopped doing it because a lot of those things might require us to do it with other people. So in order to make friends, it's important to get in touch in the stuff you like to do, because this is going to give you like a clear map of where the potential friends that you could make, the ones that you'd have probably the most chemistry with, are going to be hanging out. So this leads me to tip number 4, which is to join groups and meetups that are related to your interests. So I'm sure by now you probably know about this website called meetup.com. If you're new to my website, if you're not new to my website and you've been looking at my videos, I talk about this website a lot. And this is just a gold mine for making friends. Okay, there's a lot of good people on that website, and their concept is really interesting, where they allow you to choose meetups in a specific interest that you have. So there's like bowling meetups, there's like improv meetups, there's adventurous meetups, there's snowboarding meetups, there's reading meetups, there's Bible meetups, there's social anxiety and shyness meetup. There's any kinds of meetup that you can think of, poker meetups. And what I'd advise you to do is to go back to your list that you just created and go and join some of those groups, because chances are that you'll find a lot of people in those groups that you could have a lot of chemistry with. And I know this is kind of very nerve-wracking to do this, but you need to keep your options open, because if you want to make friends, I know it sounds kind of like duh, but you kind of need to go where there's going to be people. You can't make friends if you're sitting at home. I always wanted to make friends when I was younger for a really long period, but I stayed at home and I didn't do anything. And you know what? When you do that, there's absolutely no chance you can make friends. So you're going to have to, like I said earlier, you're going to have to go through a little bit of anxiety, and you're going to push your comfort zone, and you're going to try and join some of these groups. Okay? So the tip number 5 is to try to stay regular with some of the groups that you enjoy. So when you find, like, my ideal situation was that the ideal situation is that you join a couple groups, and that you find the groups that you enjoy the most, and that you start becoming regular at this. And yes, this is gonna take a little bit of time, it's gonna be time consuming a little bit, but it's for the good, because making friends has been shown that it's one of the things that makes us live longer. It's related to really healthy health, it's one of the best things that you can do for yourself. So this, consider this a really good time, a way to spend your time, to make friends, you know. And it's going to be really fun. I mean, at first it's really tough because, you know, you're socially anxious. But another reason why tip number 5 is good is to get regular with the people that you to get regular with the meetups that you're joining, is that you're going to start becoming a little bit more comfortable with the people that you're seeing. And just by the fact that some people have seen your face numerous times but on different occasion, that dynamic already creates the concept of kind of being friends, you know. And so that's a plus there. So tip number 6 is to get in the habit of getting people's phone numbers. And again, this is pushing your boundaries, I know, but the reason why I want this is a good idea is that you don't want to rely on meeting people just as at these groups, and that's the only chance that you can get to see them. It's really a good idea to get their phone numbers. Like that, you have the chance to invite them to do stuff later on and to deepen the friendship, you know. Because let's say that person just stops going to the group, you're never going to see them again, you know. So get into the habit of asking people's phone number. I find that the best way to do this is just before leaving. So let's say you're going to a group and you know, it's going to require you to talk to a few people. A really good idea also is that is to join groups of for shy people and socially anxious people. There's about 2 groups like that in Montreal. This is in Montreal, in my city. And in your city, the chances are that there's going to be a group just like that. And this is really good because I find those people, those groups, to be safe people. You don't have to hide, you know, because they're all shy also, so what's to hide? And these are really great people to start making friends with, you know. But something that you need to get into the habit of doing is to get their phone number. So the best way to do this is just before they leave. Let's say the group is just ending and it's the end of the night or something. You just go up to them, you know, and you just ask. It's really simple. You don't have to make this complicated. Hey, hi, let's exchange phone numbers, you know. I'm always in the lookout for cool people to hang out with. It's that simple. That's one way. Another way is to just go to them and just have a little conversation, and you try to end the conversation slightly prematurely, and you tell them, listen, I have to go right now, but I'd love to continue this conversation. Let's exchange phone numbers. You know, it's just that simple. So you do that, and now you have a way to contact them. So this brings me to tip number 7, which is to start inviting the people that you have. You took their phone number, and you start inviting them to do stuff that you planned. So this again is going to require you to push your limits a little bit, but this is how you deepen a friendship, you know. If you want it as simple as possible, just hanging out with people more often will deepen a friendship on its own. That's all there is really to it. That's why taking the phone number is really important. So I suggest for doing this that you do specific plans ahead of time, and then you shoot that opportunity to the people that you got their numbers on your phone, right? So you don't want to just be like, hey, want to hang out tonight? Don't do that. That tends to not sell very well. What you should do instead is create a definite plan, especially something that could be exciting, and then you invite the person with the exact time, how much money it's gonna cost, and where it is, you know. So a good example of a text could be, hey man, I'm going bowling at 7 p.m. this Friday. It'd be awesome if you could join. Are you in? You know, just a little text like that. And make sure to text that maybe 1 or 2 days in advance so that the person has a chance to to make space for you, you know. So I created an article, written article that has a lot more details, and you can go and check it out. I'll link it in the description. It's called 9 Brilliant Tips on How to Make Friends with Social Anxiety. So tip number 8 is to go for quality over quantity. So there's a lot of research that is showing that, wow, this is really a nice view you have there. Yeah, sorry. So there's a lot of research that is finding out that there's more happiness in having just a few good friends than having like 100 mediocre friends, you know. So your aim in all of this should be to create kind of either a really solid friendship, or create a social circle with just a few friends, maybe 3 to 6 people. You know, this, keep in mind, is going to take time, but that's what I would advise. So tip number 9 is that it's probably the most important tip, and I touched on it a little bit, but it's the fact that once you do make friends, the number one thing you need to do is to keep in touch, okay? And this is probably one of the main reasons why, well, this was the main reasons why I lost my friends a while back, is because I just didn't keep in touch with them, you know? And if you keep, when people start inviting you places and you keep saying, oh no, not tonight, not, no, I can't, I have this, I have that. When you keep making excuses, even like I was making excuses because it was, because I was too nervous to go. But when you keep making excuses like that, people are just going to stop calling you. So you have to be that outside force that is keeping the friendship together. Just keep in touch. I recommend at least once every 2 weeks, hang out, go do something exciting. And the reason why you want to do something exciting is that at first, as a socially anxious and shy person, it's easier to do something that where you're moving and you're just not sitting down face to face over coffee, you know, because that can tend to be a little bit nerve-wracking and awkward. So those are my 9 tips, guys. So I created, if you want to learn how to overcome your shyness and your social anxiety, you can click right here, and that's a video that I created that explains the 5 biggest myths on shyness and social anxiety that are keeping you stuck. Okay. Also, click right here to subscribe, don't forget, and here's a cool video that you could watch.